Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Sorry for the delay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is Srimad Bhagavatam 7:10:10. It's the last verse in the second set of prayers that Prahlad offers to Narsimhadev. Om Namo Bhagavate Tubhyam Purushaya Mahatmane Haraye Adbhuta Simhaya Brahmane Paramatmane. Let's recite it together 2 times and then we'll move forward. Om Namo together. Om Namo Bhagavate Tubhyam Purushaya Mahatmane Haraye Adbhuta Simhaya Brahmane Paramatmane. Om Namo Bhagavate Tubhyam Purushaya Mahatmane Haraye Adbhuta Simhaya Brahmane Paramatmane. Word for word translation. Om, O my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead. Namaha, I offer my respectful obeisances. Bhagavate, unto the Supreme Person. Tubhyam, unto you. Purushaya, unto the Supreme Person. Mahatmane, unto the Supreme Soul or the Super Soul. Haraye, unto the Lord who vanquishes all the miseries of devotees. Adbhuta Simhaya, unto your wonderful lion-like form as Narsimhadev. Brahmane, unto the Supreme Brahman. Paramatmane, unto the Supreme Soul. Translation purport by His Divine Grace C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Just. O my Lord, full of 6 opulences, O Supreme Person, O Supreme Soul, killer of all miseries, O Supreme Person in the form of a wonderful lion and man, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you. In the previous words, Prahlad Maharaj has explained that a devotee can achieve the platform of Bhagavatva, being as good as the Supreme Person. But this does not mean the devotee loses his position as a servant. The pure devotee of the Lord, although as opulent as the Lord, is still meant to offer respectful obeisances to the Lord in service. Prahlad Maharaj was engaged pacifying the Lord, and therefore he did not consider himself equal to the Lord. He defined his position as a servant and offered respectful obeisances unto the Lord. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjalishalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So, I'll discuss briefly today this series of verses that Prahlad is speaking. I will try to understand what exactly is going on in terms of the heart of Prahlad Maharaj over here. Narasimha Chaturdashi is coming soon. So, I'll do a quick overview of the conversations within the pastime and then we'll see what is happening. Now, this particular pastime, more or less, it's color visible. Okay, I'll change the color. So 7.1, we are here 7.10. So 10th chapter. So more or less the theme begins from the first chapter. And initially it's all about Hiranyakashipu's austerities. And so in one sense in the pastime, first Hiranyakashipu is in focus. Then it is Prahlad who is in focus, and then Narasimhadev comes in focus, particularly only in the 9th and 10th chapters, 8, 9, 10 chapters. So 7.9. Now there are conversations that happen between Prahlad and Hiranyakashipu, which are centered on basically asking Hiranyakashipu, asking what did you learn, and what he learns. Hiranyakashipu is not very happy to learn that, but eventually the prayers that happen, the prayers the prayers that are offered in 7.9, there's a long, that's generally considered Narasimha Stuti. It's a long set of prayers. And there's a very beautiful flow of thought within that. But because it's a very long set of prayers, we won't be able to discuss that. Okay? Now, here in 7.10, the prayers are offered again. It's interesting that in the last chapter, it's elaborate prayers, but the prayer ends without any prayer. What I mean by that is, in the conventional sense of the word, prayer is associated with some kind of request. So, for most people, prayer is a request. For some people, prayer is a demand. For some people, it's an ultimatum to God. If you don't fulfill my prayer, then I'll reject you. So it becomes like that also. But now, prayer is at best a request. But in the bhakti context, yes, there are some requests. What's happening over here? Why is all this? Wait. Are we sharing on Zoom? No, no? Yes. Oh, you're sharing on Zoom? It's coming. Yes. It's coming, but how can I hide all this? Okay, let it be on top. Okay, if I go over here, everything is stuck over. Sorry about this. Okay, this is better. It's not coming now? Yeah, but normally when I share the screen, it doesn't come. Okay, it's coming now? What had you done? I'm sharing the screen. Is it okay? My mistake. Okay, now
Yes.
so okay. There's a way to hide this, but that's okay. This is small. No, it's okay. Let me. So now, so at the end, basically the 7.9 prayer, it ends without any prayer. In the sense that there is no request over there, specifically. It just ends with a glorification. And the Lord is very pleased with him, and the Lord asks him, what do you want? What do you want to pray? Ask me something. And this is where the second set of prayers begins. So we'll try to do an overview of this set of prayers today. This begins from the 4th verse and goes to the 10th verse, is the last verse over here. So if we move back, it starts from the 2nd verse actually. So 2 to 10 is what it goes on, and 11th the Lord replies. So Narsimhadev has been asked. Narsimhadev is asking Prahlad, what do you want? And his reply is, I have paraphrased these verses to just so that we can get understanding of the flow. So I'll just tell the overall sequence of what is happening, and then we'll see how much time we have to go into each of the verses. So the first verse Prahlad says is, my dear Lord, please don't tempt me. Please don't tempt me here. And then he says, I'm born in a demoniac family, and I have come to you for shelter from the temptations of this world. And then he says, no, it's like Chakravarti Padaracharya, they envision a conversation that is going on. So the Lord says, Prahlad, you are not a demon, you are my pure devotee. So he says, Tad Bhritya Lakshana Jigyasur. Next verse says that, actually, yes, my dear Lord, I know that you have sent me in this family to exhibit the characteristics of your devotion. But right now I am in this particular situation and I am vulnerable. This is a dangerous situation. So therefore, my dear Lord, please don't tempt me. So he's first taking on the fallen role of being a fallen person. But he says, the Lord says, you're not fallen? Yes, my dear Lord. Yeah. Otherwise, the two verses seem almost contradictory. The previous verse is saying, I am born in a demoniac family. The next verse is saying, you have sent me here to exhibit the symptoms of pure devotee. So how can that be? So he's saying, yes, that's the mission with which you sent me here, but I'm in a vulnerable situation. And then the next verse he says, Nanyatha Tekil Guru. But then the question comes up, the Lord says, do you really think I will tempt you? Is that what you think about me? How can I tempt you? He says, yes, my dear Lord, I know that you can never tempt anyone. But you are so kind that even if a devotee gets tempted by material things, you don't reject that. You accommodate even that devotee. So, but then he goes on and says that such a person who comes to you because of material desires, that person is actually not a pure person. That person is not a pure devotee. It is your kindness that you accommodate such a person. But while it is your kindness, that is not the speciality of that person. And he expresses his desire, my dear Lord, I don't want to be like that. I want to be aham tu akamas bhaktas. I just want to be your unmotivated devotee. And I want you to be my unconditional master. So it's basically, he's saying, I don't want to be tempted. You are not tempting me. And even if somebody gets tempted, you accept that person. But I don't want to be that kind of person. I just want to be purely devoted to you. He says, you know that I know that you love me. You know that I love you. Why are you even worried about these things? The Lord is saying. So he replies that, therefore, O Lord, I am saying to you, that if at all you want to give me anything, you have asked me for blessing. The only blessing I want is that you free all material desires from my heart. Yadi dasyasi me kama. I don't want any single desire at all in my heart. And then he says, there are no material desires in your heart, Prahlad. Why are you so worried? He says, I am worried because I know how dangerous material desires can be. He says that one desire, it can contaminate the entire being. So, indriyani mana prana. On the other hand, he says, next verse, that if one can become free from desires, then one can be intimately united with you. One can be truly situated in the same spiritual position in which you are situated. And then finally, he says, my dear Lord, I surrender to your plan. I offer my obeisances to you. I will do whatever it is that you want me to do. I will do your will. So the Lord will eventually tell him that you become the king and you serve as the king. That is what my will is for you. And the Lord also tells him how you can stay protected. He says that he goes on and speaks various verses. Bhogena punyam kushalena papam. This is probably one of the most important verses about practically living in this world. So the Lord replies to him. But let's look at these verses. So this is the overall sequence where the Lord is saying, please do not tempt me. So we could say that these has three sections broadly. One is the first section is about Prahlad's concerns. Then he says the Lord's characteristics. And then lastly, material desires and devotion. So let's look at these three things. This goes from the second verse till the 10th verse. So let's recite some of these verses. Let's go backward. Shri Prahlad Uvacha Mamam Pralobayat Potya Saktam Kameshu Tairvarai Tatsanga Bhito Nirvigno Mumukshu Swamupashritaha. So here the theme is that of shelter from desire. So this is the difference between bhakti and punya. In the Lord is the shelter from desire, whereas in punya the Lord is the shelter for desire. Shelter for desire means I have all these desires, I am not able to fulfill it. My dear Lord, please, you become an instrument for fulfilling my desires. So now, it may be mundane, but it is still, the Lord is happy that the devotee is at least coming to me. So in the progression where it's like if you consider desires and devotion or desires and Krishna. So at the level of papa, at the level of sin, desires they take us away from Krishna. Now at the level of punya, the desires take us toward Krishna and bring us back to the desire. So the desires don't take us entirely away from Krishna. We go to Krishna, but it is the desires that take us towards Krishna. Just like we have Dhruva, very intense bhakti, but it is because he wanted a kingdom. Akama sarva kamo va moksha kamo dar. Sarva kamo va. He had a strong desire. But bhakti is where, if you consider at this level, a devotee only desires the Lord. So that's why in 12.8 and 9, Krishna, when he's talking about pure devotion, he talks about first a devotee is completely absorbed in him. And if one cannot do that, then athachittam samadhatum na shaknosi maistiram. Abhyas yogenito mam ichchaptum dhananjaya. That the purpose of trying to fix our mind on Krishna is to ultimately become absorbed in Him, to ultimately to become immersed in Him, to increase our desire for the Lord. So at that point, a devotee doesn't care for the material world. If something happens in the material world, that's wonderful. This is na dhanam, na janam sundari. That is the mood. I don't want anything in the material world. The Lord wants to give devotee abandon things in the material world so that the devotee can use those things in Krishna's service. But so initially, what is happening is Prahlad Maharaj is positioning himself here. So Prahlad Maharaj is positioning himself here and he's saying, my dear Lord, why are you tempting me? Please, mamam pralobhayotpatya saktam kameshu tairvarai. That please don't tempt me. These desires, these indulgences, these temptations will take me away from you. Now the Lord is saying, the next verse we go over here, the Lord is saying, you are not actually here. Prahlad, you are here. You desire me only. Hmm? That, let's look at what the next verse is. Okay. Vrityalakshana jigyasur bhaktam kameshvachodaya bhavan samsar bijeshu hridaya granthishu prabho. So here he's saying that, yes, my dear Lord, you have sent me to this world. Vritya Lakshana Jigyasu. Jigyasu is inquisitive. So those who want to know what are the characteristics of a pure devotee, what are the characteristics of a servant of yours, to demonstrate to them, Bhaktam Kameshu. You have desiring this, you have sent me to this world. But the very fact that I have come to this world means that it is a place of, I am in a contaminated place. Just like generally speaking, when we talk about desires, we can take a moral view of desires or we can take a clinical view of desires. What do you mean by moral view? If somebody has a desire, that is wrong. You should not be having this kind of desires. That's a moral view of desires. And there's utility in taking that view. But a clinical view is that desires are basically what arise because of the interaction of the material body with the material objects. So, for example, in 523, Krishna takes us more of a clinical view. He says that Shaknoti haivaya sodum prakshari vimokshanat kama krodhodbhavam begam sayukta sukhinara. He says, as long as we have a body, we will have desires. So, is that just a natural result of our embodied condition? But he says that doesn't mean that we have to succumb to those desires. We should learn to tolerate. But a clinical view is it's just natural. So it's like suppose somebody is a doctor and the doctor goes into an area where there's a pandemic. The doctor is also vulnerable to become infected, isn't it? So a clinical view is more like a doctor going to a pandemic zone. So Prahlad is saying that this material world is like a pandemic zone. It's filled with material desires. And those desires are not just out there. He's saying that the desires come in the heart also. Because just by the embodied condition, some desires come. So at so clinical level is it's just more like a functional reality. Those desires will come. But a moral level is, so clinical means it arises out of the condition. You can say condition, that's external, it can be conditioning internally also. Moral is more of a choice. That when the desire comes, what do we do about it? So Krishna says in 270, for example, that Apuryamana machila pratishtam samudramapah pravashanti yadvat tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve sashanti mapnoti na kama kami. Na kama kami means don't be a desirer of desire. It's a very interesting phrase. Don't be a desirer of desire. That means what it is saying is desire is, from a clinical perspective, desire will naturally arise because we live in the material world. But from a moral perspective, don't accept that desire. This is what Krishna is saying. The desires may come, we don't have to accept that. So you could say that it's more like this is like a proposition, and this is more like a decision. So a proposition comes up, oh, eat this, watch this, touch this, enjoy this. Say, yes, I'm going to do it. So proposition may be unavoidable because that's just the nature of the world. But decision is avoidable. So Prahlad is saying, my dear Lord, I am in this vulnerable zone. You have sent me on a pure mission, but I am in a vulnerable zone right now. So please don't tempt me. Please don't put me in further danger. So you have sent me for a higher mission, but these dangers are there. Let's move on to the next verse now. Nanyatha te akhila guru ghateta karunatmanaha yasta ashisha ashaste nasabhrutya savaimani. So then the Lord is saying that, oh, why do you consider desires to be so dangerous? There are so many people who have desires and still they come to me. Still they're connected with me. Still they're also worshipping me. He says, yes, my dear Lord, they do worship you. But they are not Prityaha. They are not servants. They are Vanik. They are, they are, they are having a relationship. When you talk about a relationship with the Lord, the relationship can be transactional or the relationship can be transformational. Transactional means like we go to a business person, we go to shopkeeper, we give the money and they give us a product. Now that is simply a transactional relationship. Neither that person is transformed by it nor are we transformed. Only some things exchange hands. But for a devotee, the primary purpose, so it's like the transactional relationship means what? Could illustrate like this, that the Lord and devotee come close to each other. And the Lord doesn't go away, but it's more like the devotee comes close to the Lord, or the transactional person, they come to the Lord and they go away. This is the Lord, this is the, you come for a particular purpose, you offer something, get something, and then go away. That's transactional. But transformational means that the devotee keeps coming closer and closer and closer to the Lord. And it's eternally devotee's heart. The Lord says in Prahlad's, in Ambarish Maharaj's prayers that Sadhavo Hridayam Mahyam, that the saintly devotees reside in my heart and I reside in their heart. Krishna also says the same thing in 929 in the Bhagavad Gita. He says that Samoham Sarvabhuteshu Name Dveshosti na Priya Ye Bhajanti Tubam Bhaktya Mai Te Teshu Chapyaham. That they exist in me and I exist in them. So that eternal union is there. We could say eternally increasing union is there. So this is a transformational relationship. This is the kind of relationship that I seek. Nasabhritya savai vanik. So some people come to the Lord, but their interest is not the Lord. Their interest is what? Their interest is their own desires. I don't want to be like this. So this is my concern. I don't want to have business relationship. It happens with us, say we are talking with someone, and if that person is just interested in, they are interested, okay, I told you to do this, have you done this, have you done that, have you done that? And they have no interest in us at all. It leaves a bit of a bad, not a pleasant feeling in our, do you really even care for me at all? So that way, this relationship, he says, I don't want that kind of relationship with you. But then, so many people have that kind of relationship. What is the issue with that? So he says that he's now moving from his. So it's like the prayers, how they are happening is that the prayers are personal, universal, and personal. It's like he's expressing his personal emotions. Then he's talking about some universal principles There are personal concerns, the universal principles, and then there are personal aspirations. Aspirations is what does he aspire for? What does he want? So 2 to 4 are his personal concerns. My dear Lord, I don't want to be tempted. Hmm. Then after that, now he is giving the principles of devotion. Asha sano navai vrityah स्वामिन्याशिष्यात्मनः न स्वाम्य भृत्यतः स्वाम्यम् इच्छन्यो राति चाशिषः. So he's saying that one who comes primarily to you for desires. Now he is in one sense, what is he doing is he is comparing at one level a person, a materially motivated person with a devotee, but he's also comparing the Lord with other masters. He's saying that there can be in the relationship between, say, the worshipper and the worshipped. The worshipper can be unsteady. Unsteady means the worshipper is not really interested in the Lord. If you give me this, wonderful. If you don't give me this, then I'm not interested in you. But he's saying even the worshipped can be insecure. What does he mean by that? That sometimes it may happen that we are afraid that if I don't do this for this person will go away. And although something may not be good for that person, but still we may do it for that person because we want to hold on to that person. So basically this insecure means there can be attached in a material sense, in a negative sense attached, and there can be negative sense attached over here also. So sometimes a person, see how it is that from our perspective, we need the Lord. We need Krishna. Although we don't realize we need Krishna. We think I can go on, my life can go on without. But from Krishna's perspective, Krishna does not need us. Prahlad Maharaj has mentioned that he has talked about how the Lord is Nijlabha Purno in the previous chapter. He's complete in himself. From our perspective, we need the Lord. From the Lord's perspective, the Lord does not need us, he wants us. He does not need us, he's complete in himself. But he wants us because he cares for us. So while he wants us, he does not need us. So if a devotee, he says, my dear Lord, you are such a person that you, just to satisfy someone, you will not give them something that is harmful to them. Like a doctor, if a patient wants something, patient says diabetic, and the doctor says, patient says, I cannot live without sugar. The doctor may give may allow the doctor patient to take some sweets, but the doctor will not prescribe something that is actively harmful to the patient. So like that, he says, you are not so worried that people may go away. If somebody wants to go away, still you will not give them something that is harmful to them. So he's talking about, from your perspective, you are not insecure. You are not a possessive Lord. But on my side, I don't want to be unsteady. So he's talking about the characteristics of a utilitarian relationship from both sides. Some people bestow favors just so that they can hold on to their followers. Like Duryodhan, when he was a king, recently I was asked this question. I was in India, you call it. No, Duryodhan was not a bad king. When he was a king, as per the Mahabharata described, he was a good king in the sense that he was administering the kingdom well. And that's what Yudhishthir also says that, it is for my own personal greed that I got this kingdom. Duryodhan was managing the kingdom quite well. Well, he was managing, but why was he managing? It was because he just wanted to hold on to people. He wanted that in future, when Yudhishthira and the Pandavas will challenge me, I want people to be on my side. But did he really want the good of people, or he just wanted them to be good to him? Mm. It's like a government. It can empower people by creating employment, by creating facilities. Other government can just give freebies. We'll give you this, we'll give you that, we'll give you that. But that creates an unhealthy dependence. So Duryodhana was giving a lot of favors, but that was not out of any concern for the people. It was concern for power, not for people. So that's a very different thing. Now, after this, he says this is one of the well-known verses from the section. And he's saying, what is the standard of devotion that he wants to follow? Aham tva kamas tvad bhaktas tvam cha swami anapashrayah nanyathetha vayorartho rajasevakayoriva. So akamas tvad bhaktas. I am your devotee without any motivated desires. And Swami Anapashraya. That means when you are a master, you are not, you don't need us. You're not taking shelter of us. So, like a master sometimes gets a sense of shelter by how many followers I have. If I don't have followers, the master starts feeling insecure. So, Twamcha Swami Anapashraya. You don't need followers for your shelter. And this is a pure relationship. So, he says, this is the standard of pure relationship that I seek from you. And because I want to seek this relationship, therefore, the prayer that I ask you for is that my only desire is that there be no desire in my heart. That is my prayer. Yati dasyasi me kaman varam svam varadarshabha kamanam hridya samroham bhavatastu vrunevaram. Now, in general, bhakti is actually characterized, in fact, defined by desires. The defining characteristic of bhakti is desire for Krishna. So, if a devotee does not have desire for Krishna, then there is no devotion at all. So, when the word kama is used, it is used primarily for desires that take us away from the Lord. We may call it material desires, but how do we exactly define a material desire? Sometimes a devotee may desire a material thing for the sake of the Lord, for serving the Lord. So the test is that, in one sense, desire is equal to devotion. What do you mean by that? If there is devotion, naturally there will be desire. The devotee will desire to chant the holy names, to take darshan of the Lord, to do service for the Lord. Prabhupada's distinguishing characteristic among many was that he had the strongest desire to spread Mahaprabhu's mission all over the world. And many of his other god brothers may have been more learned than him in terms of literal scripture learning. They may have been more renounced than him in the sense that they had been lifelong renunciates. But Prabhupada was defined by that overpowering desire to serve the Lord. So, in one sense, you could say, as a desire for Krishna increases, that is a sign that our devotion is also increasing. Tatra laulyam api maulyam ekam. That, in fact, that strong desire is the characteristic, is a prize for Krishna consciousness. Bhakti Samad Sindhu says. So, when we say that we should not have any desires, so we may say we don't have material desires. But kamam, when the word kama is used, so how are we going to define material desires basically? It is not just desire for material things. Because as long as we are in the material world, even to serve the Lord, we need material things. If you want to offer bhoga to the Lord, that is a material thing. You say it's being offered to the Lord, so it's spiritual. Okay. But it is a thing in the material world. It is made of matter. So it does not, material desire is not desire for material things. It is more for desire that takes us away from Krishna. Now the question comes up, what if we want, so there is desire for the Lord and there is desire for things for the Lord, isn't it? I want to have a big house so that I can have a big altar which I can serve the Lord. Even I want to build a big temple for the Lord. So what about those desires? So there is desire for Krishna and there is desire for things for Krishna. So now the test is that we could say that both of them could be devotional desires, and it is definitely possible. But the test is that the desire for Krishna needs to be stronger than our desire for the things for Krishna. Sometimes what happens is we are trying to do some service and that service is not working, and because of that we become so irritated. This person is not cooperating, this is not happening, that is not happening, and then our heart itself becomes very bitter because of that. In trying to offer the world to Krishna, we make our heart unofferable to Krishna. That should not happen. Krishna says, Bhajatam Preeti Purvakam, not Bhajatam resentment Purvakam, not Bhajatam anger Purvakam, not Bhajatam. So, yes, we want to offer things to Krishna. So, this is, you want to offer the world to Krishna, but we want to offer our heart to Krishna. And offering our heart is the most important thing. Srila Prabhupada wanted to offer the whole world to Krishna. Yet, when Prabhupada came to America and devotees, the new people who later became devotees, they met him. They didn't see that Prabhupada was bitter or unsatisfied or resentful. I have tried so much to serve Krishna, nothing is working. Even then, Prabhupada was cheerful. Prabhupada was happy speaking about Krishna, happy about glorifying Krishna. And whatever worked out, Prabhupada was doing his best to make things work out. But his desire for Krishna was greater than his desire for things that he wanted to offer to Krishna. And that's why a devotee is, on one side, a devotee has aspirations. We have many aspirations, but a devotee also has satisfaction. If this combination of devotion is both, Krishna, whatever situation you are going to put me in, I accept that situation because I just want to connect with you. So I'm satisfied in that. At the same time, there is so much more I want to do for you. So in that sense, devotion is a combination of both satisfaction and aspiration. If there is only satisfaction, then that will lead to lethargy. That will lead to apathy. We will not do any service to Krishna. Okay, I'm satisfied. Like, Krishna, you are happy there, I'm happy here. Let's stay happy. That will lead to lethargy. On the other hand, if there is only aspiration and there is no satisfaction, then eventually this will lead to bitterness. Krishna, I am trying to do so much. Why are you not helping me? Why are people not helping me? Why are things going so wrong? So we need a combination of both. Satisfaction plus aspiration. That there is so much more I would like to do for Krishna, but whatever I am able to do, I am grateful for that opportunity. I am happy that I am able to connect with you, Lord. So when Prahlad is saying, let there be no desires in my heart, his point is, let no desire become so strong in my heart that it takes me away from you. That the desire for doing things for you should not take me away from you. And then after that, next verse he says, then he talks about how the power of desire may start small, but the desire keeps growing, and it takes away one's entire being. Yasya nashyanti janmana, one's whole life can be ruined by desires. Let's skip this verse. And then on the other hand, if one can give up such desires, so we desire the Lord, and we desire things for the Lord. But if something is not working out, vimunchati kaman, one is able to give up that desire. Then what happens is manasi sthitan, the mind becomes stable. The mind can be achala or the mind can be chanchala. Mhm. Chanchala is constantly going here, there, and everywhere. Achala means it's vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunda. It's fixed on the Lord. So that it says when our mind becomes steady, manasi sthitan, then we attain the same spiritual nature that the Lord has. And that is what we aspire for. Now, how exactly the Lord will bring that about in our lives, that is up to Him. So we surrender to Him. So this last verse is also a verse expressing acceptance of the Lord's plan. So this is the heart of Prahlad Maharaj that is being expressed in these verses. And we can also aspire for this kind of pure devotion. So I'll summarize what I discussed today. So we discussed a quick overview in the beginning of the verses. That's what we did again. But overview was what? There is his concerns, characteristics of devotion, and then there are the aspirations. So 2 to 4 are the characteristics, and then 7 to 10 are the aspirations. So in this connection, we discussed how when a devotee is practicing bhakti, the important thing is that the relationship, we want it to be not transactional, but transformational. Mhm. That means the transformation is that our desire for the Lord increases, that we come closer to the Lord. And then with respect to desires, we want, it's not that we just want to give up desires, it's like our desire for Krishna, we want it to increase. Then desire for the things for Krishna, that is also good to have, but it should not become stronger than the desire for Krishna. And desire for desire for things that take us away from Krishna, that we want it to decrease and we want it to become zero ultimately. So that is Prahlad's prayer, saying that let this become decrease so that it becomes ultimately zero. And in that way, we can become our entire being, our whole consciousness can become Krishnamaya. It can become filled with Krishna. Thank you very much. Srila Prahlad Maharaj ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Gaur Bhaktavinda ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. Thank you very much. Okay, maybe one or two questions. Yes, bro.
Thank you, Sir Guruji. Wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much for very nicely detailing out the inner mood of Prahlad Maharaj and beautiful conversation which is going in retrospect of I could never tap into. While hearing this beautiful katha, there was some perception came and I just wanted to get some clarification on that. It apparently looks like there are three horizons. On one horizon, Prahlad Maharajas and our great acharyas are there at such a higher platform. They are already living in the heart of Krishna, like you talked about it is both way. For them, practicing bhakti, apparently, though there are challenges in their life, but because they are so much connected to Krishna, they are not affected by that. Apparently. There is second horizon, which I was thinking about Dhruv Maharaj, who did not actually went to Krishna with the desire that I want a pure devotional service. So he was going here, but by the mercy of the Lord, he immediately went to the first horizon and practiced at that platform. I was thinking about devotees like myself who are at the third horizon, who cannot go to that level because there are, like you talked about, being in material world, we are always attacked by material desires. Even if I don't want it, and I know this is not favorable for me, but the God comes and you shared a beautiful point, we don't act on that, which is beautiful. But it looks like to go to the spiritual world or to attain the lotus feet of Krishna, I cannot continue on this horizon. I have to go to the third horizon But this is not under my capacity.
Yeah, good question. So by horizon, I think you're using the word levels. Correct. So 3 levels, okay. So I'm not sure whether Dhruv Maharaj was at the third level and first level immediately, because we see that Dhruva does also become angry when Uttama is killed, and he starts killing disproportionately also. So now, of course, we could say that's the Leela of the Lord. But the point is, then he accepts. So the point is that the nature of the material world is sometimes even somebody after seeing the Lord can come under the spell of anger, but then he's protected. When Manu comes and gives him instruction, he lets go of his anger. So rather than just expecting pure devotion, expecting that we will always stay at the standard of pure devotion all the time, we need to keep ourselves in good association, or at least be accountable to good association, be subordinate to good association. Then even if we go off track, we will be brought back on track. And as far as the level we are at, um, one aspect of devotion is satisfaction. That where we are right now, we need to be satisfied by that. It is not that the Lord has rejected us because of where we are. The Lord knows where we are. And we want to become purified and attain the Lord, but then things take time. And which we don't have to put um, in the name of seeing pure devotion as very lofty. We don't have to make Krishna into an unreasonably demanding God. Krishna is an understanding God. Krishna says, from wherever we are taking steps towards Him. We are moving closer to Him. And just like if we consider a parent and a child, now if our child is learning to walk, every step that our child takes, we are happy with that. Now, if a child is just learning to walk, it's not that we expect our child next day to run a marathon. So, if as parents we are understanding towards our children, why will Krishna, the supreme parent, not be understanding towards us? So, Krishna knows where we are, and Krishna will guide us forward. So, somehow, in the name of, yes, we want to go back to Krishna. And it's not that Krishna doesn't want us to come to Him. Krishna also wants us, as Prabhupada says in the first canto, that Krishna's desire that we come to Him is more than our desire that we go to Him. So His desire is very much there. So He will help us become purified so that we can come closer to Him and ultimately attain Him. So how that will happen? That is something which life will be an unfolding adventure in that direction. So we don't have to put ourselves down too much or catastrophize the future. So even if we are not purified enough to go back to God at the end of this life, that's not the end of existence. If we have served Krishna lifelong, Krishna will take us to a place where we can continue serving and coming closer to Him. So if you're pure enough to go back to Him, wonderful. If you're not pure enough to Him, that doesn't mean we are doomed. Krishna is not going to forget what we have done for Him. So our desire for purity should create intensity, not insecurity. That we want to be pure, but in that name, we should not become insecure. Because otherwise, if we are insecure, then that means we don't have faith in Krishna. Sometimes we have more faith in our fallen condition than in Krishna to elevate us from our fallen condition. That is not necessary. So desire for purity, it should lead to intensity in bhakti, not not insecurity in bhakti. Okay. Any other question? Yes.
One question is on the satisfaction and aspiration. Especially aspiring for certain ways. You are mentioning about how things will not be falling according to our desires to so most of the times we kind of build up and then the better is satisfied and good, but not aspiring anymore. those kind of activities. Maybe I don't have to let me,
Yeah.
So, this is very challenging.
That's why we need to have the association that will bring the balance to us. If we tend to go too much towards aspiration, and because of that we are constantly dissatisfied, then we need to see devotees who are satisfied. We need to associate with devotees who have satisfaction. And if we are having too much satisfaction, then we have to associate with devotees who have that aspiration, who have that urge to do a lot for Krishna. So largely bhakti sanjayate bhakti. It's that our desires will arise from association. So we have to see what is it that we need. Sometimes we need zeal. Come on, I have to do a lot of things for Krishna. And then we associate that kind of devotees. But sometimes we need calmness, we need acceptance, we need a sense of peacefulness. So then it's inspiring even to associate with devotees who are doing simple services. Jayadvaita Maharaj once said that one devotee had asked him, Maharaj, what gives you faith in bhakti? So he had said there was one devotee, a brahmachari in Vrindavan temple. He had been for almost 50 years, he was a brahmachari there. He would do pujari services and other services. He says, in the morning when he is there, he liked to serve Charanamrita. So day after day, month after month, year after year, to see him happily serving Charanamrita, that gives me faith in bhakti. It's a very interesting answer. He is not a well-known devotee. He is not having thousands and thousands of disciples. But that he can continue this lifelong doing this service, that indicates there is some intrinsic joy and devotion also. So now, but did that mean that Maharaj said that I'll come like that and I'll also start serving Charanamrita Vrindavan? No, that was not what he did. He continues traveling and preaching according to his capacity. So I think both are required. So we get depending on where we are, we seek the kind of association that will balance our devotion. Yes, please.
His excellent message, very wonderful analysis of Bhagavad experience. So my question is that famous verse is there that one surrenders unto him, he becomes free from Maya. So
We're talking about Sarvadharman Pritij. Which verse? Okay.
So that verse. So it's like you mentioned that Krishna is very reasonable and Krishna is very understanding. So at every point in our spiritual life, how can I determine that, for example, at this point, am I fully surrendered and I can best surrender?
I don't know about fully surrendered. I would say surrendered fully according to our capacity. Because full surrender, it may not be possible for us because we have our capacity right now. So it is not so easy to determine. But broadly, 2, 3 things we could say that one is that we can try to change our context. That means change our context means what? That say if I had been instead of serving Krishna, I had been working in a company and I had a lot of aspirations. How much would I be invested in my job and my career? Am I similarly invested here? So consider some other context and see how we would put efforts like that. And then we can get a fair idea. Okay, even if I had a job, it is okay. 1 or 2 days I can stay awake late and I can work to meet project deadlines. But every day if I have to sleep late, I can't do it. But if I say no day can I extend myself, it's good to be regulated, but we don't want to be more attached to the regulation than to Krishna, isn't it? So we changing our context, mentally changing our context, not physically, but necessarily mentally changing our context, that helps us to evaluate what is our capacity, or are we exercising according to our capacity or not. Another thing is that Sometimes in that moment it is difficult to decide. But afterwards, when we do some introspection, basically, when we say we can't do something, is that an explanation or is that an excuse? Hmm. This, how do we decide that? So basically, one thing is change of context. Second is retrospection. Retrospection means look back and then decide. So at that time, we may just go along with our gut feeling. I can do this or I can't do this because of this. But then afterwards, we don't want to just want to practice bhakti at that moment. Sometimes we focus on practicing bhakti intensely, which is true, but we want to practice bhakti intensely and sustainably. Not just today, I want to practice bhakti so much that today I lift a huge crate of books and tomorrow somebody has to lift me up and carry me. Isn't it? Because my back is broken or something like that. I don't want to be like that. So we want to practice bhakti sustainably also. So I think the whole thing comes up is ultimately it's a relationship with Krishna. So rather than thinking about in fragmental terms, that, am I serious about this activity? Am I serious about waking up in the morning? Am I serious about fasting on Ekadashi? It like see that it's a relationship with Krishna. So in that relationship, in every relationship, we stretch ourselves. But it's not that we can stretch ourselves so much that we just break down completely. We the we don't want to, or even Krishna has not given us our individuality so that we lose our individuality, isn't it? So Krishna wants us to use our individuality. Our individuality gets perfected in our relationship with Krishna. So that's why, so we can again consider in terms of other relationships, how much are we able to stretch ourselves? So if we keep the point of a relationship, that gives a more holistic picture. It's not just about the quality of our chanting, it's not just the quality of our waking up in the morning, not just how many hours we are studying Shastra. All that is important. But all of that is, Prabhupada said, ultimately what pleases me is that you love Krishna. So if we keep that in mind, that we keep that relationship with Krishna is our purpose, then it becomes easier. When I was growing up, most of you know that I have polio. I can't walk very well. So my mother took me to various places to get treated, and there were a lot of treatments and exercises. At one time, I was doing some exercise regimen where 8 hours we used to do exercise. It was like I stayed for 1 year at that place. I was attending school from home, school from the hospital only, from the clinic. So the exercise was very tiring. So I told my, there's too much exhaustion, too much discomfort, too much pain. I can't exercise. So my mother told me, if you're going to, if you say that there's too much pain, I'm not going to push you because I don't know how much pain you're going through. This is that it is your mobility in the future that is at stake. So you have to be honest with yourself, and you decide. Don't let your pain become an excuse for not exercising. The pain is an authentic reason. You decide that, and I trust you for your judgment. So like that, we ultimately have to take responsibility for ourselves. And so don't be too hard, but don't be too soft also. That's a yuktahar viharasya. So we learn from experience what will be too little or what will be too much.
Can we also say that if the surrender, if the relationship with Krishna is coming from the naturally be able to think of Krishna more?
Well, yes, think about Krishna more and more. But it doesn't, thinking of Krishna is also not in isolation. It was not that when Arjuna was fighting a war, was Arjuna thinking of Krishna? Of course, he was thinking of Krishna's mission, but he was also focusing on the service to Krishna. He was fighting against particular warriors. So yes, definitely thinking about Krishna will increase, but we shouldn't think of Krishna that Krishna only exists somewhere up there, and I'm sitting alone in my room and thinking about Krishna. It could be dynamic through our service also. So while we are doing our service, so we are giving a class. Maybe initially when we are giving class, our concern is how many people are coming for my class, how many people are becoming my followers, how much can I impress my seniors and my peers by how many people follow me. That could be our initial consideration. And that's not bad because still within the purview, we are still serving Krishna. But then over a period of time, when we are trying to share Krishna, this our focus is that Krishna is in the heart of this person. And when we pray, Krishna, let this person be drawn towards you and let me be an instrument for that. And sometimes it may happen that some people may be more attracted by someone else rather than us. They may be introduced by us, they may be attracted by someone else. But if they are becoming steady in their devotion, then we're not so attached to them. So basically, that yes, our remembrance of Krishna will increase. But remembrance of Krishna is not in isolation necessarily.
So what you are saying that the quality will increase. Quality, I mean, not while doing service, the meditation, the service quality, but the meditation will become.
Yes, true. See, it's like if we are here, initially, like the world is big for us, and Krishna is small for us. Hmm? But as we grow in bhakti, the world becomes small and Krishna becomes big for us. So Krishna becomes the bigger reality. And this essentially is spiritual growth. So it is not that the world becomes unimportant. The world is still important because the world is our arena for service to Krishna. But another point is that initially it's also like the Krishna is the means to the world for us. We are more concerned about how our service is recognized and rewarded in the world. But as we grow, the world is our means to Krishna. And that's how Patram Pushpam Phalam. If all that I have to offer is a leaf or a flower, I'm offering it to Krishna. That is the most important thing. I don't need a huge grand offering to me. If I can make, that's wonderful. So yes, so in that sense, the quality increases.
Amazing, amazing.
Thank you very much. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Great, Chaitanya Charan Prabhuji ki jai.
Somewhere or other, deep inside, this material desire is so strong, and the attachment to this material desire is so strong. It's like giving up material desire. It's like you are